I'd never seen anything like it. 1 second my wife was pulling her carry-on out of our trunk at the airport drop-off, and the next, this wild-eyed woman came sprinting up, yanked my wife by the arm and shrieked, "That's my Uber. She's stealing my ride." I froze. What the hell was happening? "Excuse me," my wife shouted, stumbling backward, her suitcase toppling over with a hollow thunk. People turned. Phones whipped out. A ripple of gasps and murmurs spread like wildfire. Airport chaos. Yeah. Everyone loves a good spectacle. The woman, Karen, I'd later learn her name, was in full meltdown mode. Blonde bob, oversized sunglasses, that nasal, commanding voice like nails down a chalkboard. She kept pointing at my wife, then at our family car and screaming, "She's stealing my Uber. Call security. Stop her." My wife's face was red, not from guilt but sheer humiliation. She's a doctor. She'd just come off a 24-hour shift, and now she was being dragged across the curb by a stranger who clearly lost touch with reality. "Let go of me," she cried, trying to wrench free. I finally snapped out of my shock. "Lady, this is our car. This is my wife. What's wrong with you?" But Karen wasn't listening. Oh no. She doubled down. She clung to my wife's arm, pitched her voice higher, and screamed for the whole terminal to hear. "Thief! She's hijacking my ride." That word, hijacking, it hit like a gunshot. Heads turned faster. Security radios crackled. And suddenly the tension spiked from embarrassing to dangerous. My wife's voice cracked as she yelled, "We're not Uber. This is our car." By then, people were whispering, "What's going on? Did she really steal it?" Cameras were recording. Of course. Strangers deciding in real time if my wife was villain or victim. And me, I felt heat rising in my chest, my fists tightening. This woman wasn't just rude. She was putting my wife in danger. Airport security doesn't play around with words like theft or hijack. I stepped between them, raising my voice. "Back off. You're assaulting my wife." Karen sneered, sunglasses slipping as she barked, "Oh, sure. Cover for her. Uber scams everywhere. Well, not today." Then, unbelievably, she tried climbing into the driver's seat of our car. That was it. That was the moment the crowd gasped in unison. She actually shoved her tote bag onto the passenger seat like she owned the place. My heart pounded so loud it drowned out the jet engines overhead. "Are you kidding me?" I shouted, pulling her bag out and dropping it on the curb. My wife finally slipped free, rubbing her arm where red marks were already blooming. And then, sirens. Airport police cruisers swung around the loop. Officers jumped out, hands near holsters, eyes scanning for the reported theft in progress. My stomach dropped. All it would take was one more scream from Karen and we'd be the suspects. And scream she did. She had lungs like a banshee. "Officer, arrest her. She tried to steal my Uber and her husband threatened me." I felt my world tilt. My wife, standing there shaking, looked like a criminal in front of half the airport. Cameras recording. Strangers whispering. It was insane. Completely flipped upside down. But then, twist number one. A young guy in line, maybe mid-20s, stepped forward, holding up his phone. "Actually, I've got the whole thing on video. That lady attacked them. They weren't even Uber. She made it up." The crowd murmured louder. Another voice. "Yeah, I saw her grab that woman. She wouldn't let go." The officers hesitated, exchanging glances. Then they turned to Karen. "Ma'am, step away from the vehicle." Karen. She laughed. "Oh, you poor boys. You're confused. I called the Uber. This is mine." She tapped the hood like it was her pet dog. I swear, even the cops looked baffled. "Ma'am, license and registration belong to him. It's his car." She snapped her fingers. No, no. Check her phone. She was on the Uber app. I saw it. My wife shook her head violently. I don't even have Uber installed. I'm on call 24/7. Why would I? Karen cut her off with another shriek. Search her. She's lying. The officers stepped closer. Ma'am, put your hands behind your back. Karen blinked. Wait, me? You're arresting me. For what? For assault and filing a false report. The crowd roared, half laughing, half gasping, as Karen thrashed and screamed. No, no, I'm the victim here. She stole my Uber. My arm. One cop muttered something about resisting, and just like that, bam, Karen was face down on the curb, wrists cuffed, sunglasses skittering across the pavement. The irony was so sharp I could taste it. The woman who screamed thief ended up tackled for her lies. My wife leaned against me, trembling. Did that really just happen? She whispered. I stroked her hair, still buzzing with adrenaline. Yeah, and thank God for that video, or we'd be in handcuffs. But the story didn't end there. Oh no, karma wasn't done yet. Later, as we gave statements, one officer pulled me aside. This isn't her first time. She's done this before. Claimed strangers were stealing her Uber or taxi. Tried to get people detained. She's got a history of false reports. Guess she finally pushed it too far. I blinked, stunned. So she does this for fun, for attention. The officer shrugged. Power trip, maybe, but this time, she'll face charges. Assault at a federal facility. That's a felony. Felony. My jaw dropped. The crowd's laughter. The cameras still pointed. It hit me. Karen hadn't just embarrassed herself. She'd destroyed her own life in broad daylight. On the drive home, silence filled the car, broken only by my wife's shaky sighs. I still can't believe she touched me like that. She murmured. Like she owned me. Like she could just drag me. I squeezed her hand. She thought she could scream louder than the truth. But the truth screamed back. Weeks later, the video went viral. Headlines popped up. Airport Karen attacks woman over fake Uber claim. Arrested on the spot. And you know what the bitter twist was? Turns out the real Uber she had ordered was waiting one lane over the whole time. The driver even posted screenshots showing he'd been messaging her while she was attacking us. So she didn't just get tackled, arrested and humiliated. She missed her actual ride completely. Now whenever I think about that day, I hear her voice. Shrill, desperate, delusional, and then I remember the heavy click of those handcuffs. The sound of karma locking her fate in place. And every time, I sigh, almost in disbelief, and ask myself, how many times did she get away with it before this? And why did it have to be my wife she chose to grab? But maybe it was fitting. Because the world saw. The world judged. And for once, justice didn't wait months in a courtroom. It landed hard. Right there on the curb. And Karen, she'll never scream Uber theft the same way again. So let me ask you, what would you have done if a stranger dragged your loved one and tried to flip the script in public? Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more unbelievable true stories like this one. It was 3:07 in the morning when my phone buzzed hard. Not a polite buzz. Not a friendly, hey, you awake? Kind of buzz. This was the jarring, urgent tone that makes your stomach drop. I rubbed my eyes, glanced at the screen, and froze. Dispatch had flagged an incoming 911 complaint. Caller name? Brenda and Kelly Marsh, the Karen sisters from across the street. Oh, for crying out loud. I swung my legs off the bed, the cold floor biting my bare feet, and listened to the automated readout. The report was about a violent neighbor dispute and possible threats with a firearm. My neighbor dispute? That was news to me. And the firearm? Complete fiction. My jaw clenched. This wasn't just ridiculous, it was dangerous. Here's the kicker, I wasn't just their neighbor. I was the on-duty night supervisor for the county emergency response unit. That meant their little stunt had just put them directly under my authority. Oh, ladies, you picked the wrong night for this. Only 4 hours earlier we'd had words heated, yes, but nothing close to illegal. It started because I refused to sign their community statement against our HOA president. Why? Because every word in it was exaggerated or flat out wrong. They had typed it up, shoved it under my nose at the block meeting, and when I asked, "Do you have proof of any of this?" They both went quiet for a split second, then smirked. That's when Brenda leaned in, voice syrupy sweet but eyes sharp as broken glass, and whispered, "Proof is what you make it, dear." My stomach turned. The whole document looked forged, fake dates, fake signatures, made-up incidents that I knew for a fact never happened. If this thing got out, the HOA president could be hit with a lawsuit for fraud, and whoever fabricated it could be in serious legal trouble. I refused to play along. They didn't like that. Kelly slammed her notebook shut with a snap loud enough to make 2 people flinch in the back row. "Some people," she hissed, "don't understand community loyalty." Fast forward to 3 a.m. and here they were, trying to get me cuffed and hauled away like some neighborhood menace. I took a slow breath and radioed dispatch. "Patch the complainant through. I'll handle it." I could almost hear the operator's confusion. Lieutenant, you're the responding officer?" "That's correct," I said. My voice was calm, clipped. Inside, I was practically vibrating. When the line clicked over, their voices came at me like twin sirens. Brenda's shaky, high-pitched wail, "He's dangerous. He threatened us." Kelly's overlapping shriek, "We think he's hiding a weapon in his house right now." I waited until they ran out of steam, let the echo of their performance hang in the dead air. "This is Lieutenant Carter, County Duty Officer," I said slowly, clearly. "I'm the neighbor you're reporting, and you're speaking on a recorded emergency line." Silence. Absolute, pin-drop silence. Then, the faint sound of Kelly muttering, "Oh my God, you've just made a false report," I continued. "At 3 in the morning, that's a criminal offense. You've also made claims that, if untrue, qualify as defamation. So you're going to want to think very carefully about your next words." They sputtered. They backpedaled. Suddenly it was a misunderstanding and we were scared. And we thought we heard something. Oh sure. What they didn't know was that while they were rambling, I was already pulling up the security feed from my own front porch camera, clear as day, showing me home alone, lights off, no visitors, no disturbances. "Ladies," I said finally, "I'm dispatching a patrol car to take your statements in person. You'll sign them under penalty of perjury. If you refuse, I'll log this call as an intentional misuse of emergency services." By the time the officers arrived, Brenda was pacing her driveway in a robe and slippers, clutching a coffee mug like it could ward off bad news. Kelly stood stiff, arms crossed, glaring at me like I was the one who had just dragged her out into the cold. The officers took their statements while I stood by, my arms folded, my face neutral. I didn't need to say much because the moment they handed over the printed forms, I saw it. Both statements matched too perfectly, down to the exact wording of certain phrases. I'd seen this pattern before in forged witness reports. They'd clearly written one version, then copied it verbatim to make it look like 2 separate accounts. Rookie mistake. I leaned over to Officer Marks, keeping my voice low. "Run a match check on phrasing against the document from the HOA meeting earlier tonight." 5 minutes later, the result pinged back. Identical language. And there it was, the connection that could turn this from a petty neighborhood spat into a criminal fraud investigation. Because if the community statement was fake, and now they were doubling down with falsified police reports, that was not just gossip territory anymore. That was prosecutable. Brenda must have noticed the shift in my expression, because she started talking faster, stumbling over her words. Well, Kelly thought she saw enough, I said, holding up a hand. My patience had hit 0. "You've tried to weaponize law enforcement against an innocent person. That's abuse of process. And given that you've repeated fabricated claims, you've opened yourself up to a civil lawsuit for defamation and criminal charges for filing false statements. Do you understand that?" Kelly's face went white. Brenda's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping on a dock. The officers quietly led them back inside to cool off. But I wasn't done. Oh, not even close. The next morning, I compiled every shred of evidence security footage, 911 call logs, matching phrases between their forged HOA statement and the false police reports. I drafted a formal complaint to the district attorney's office. Then, just to make sure the fallout landed where it should, I sent a copy to the HOA board, attaching a note that said, "You may wish to review the integrity of recent statements submitted by certain members before you find yourself entangled in a lawsuit you didn't see coming." By noon, my phone was blowing up. The HOA president himself called. His voice tight with barely contained fury. "I've just seen your email. This is wow. I knew they were trouble. But this is next-level fraud." Fraud. He said it out loud. I almost smiled. That evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the street gold, a county sheriff's cruiser rolled quietly up to the Karen sisters' house. The blinds twitched, doors opened, and in less than 10 minutes, both women were sitting in the back seat, looking everywhere but at me. I leaned against my mailbox, sipping coffee. When the cruiser pulled away, I gave a little wave. Couldn't help it. And just when I thought the night couldn't get more satisfying, I got a call from the DA's office. The voice on the other end was Assistant DA Maria Villanueva Sharp. No nonsense, and with just enough dry humor to make bad news sting worse. "Lieutenant Carter? We've reviewed your submission. First off, nice work. Second, these two didn't just file false reports. We ran a check on their past HOA documents. Turns out they've been doing this for years. Forged signatures, altered meeting minutes, even fabricated letters to county code enforcement. And now your case gives us the perfect thread to pull." I blinked. "So, what's next?" She didn't miss a beat. "We're drafting criminal charges for filing false police reports and fraud. And brace yourself, we're preparing a civil recommendation for the HOA board to pursue damages. That means an official lawsuit with your evidence front and center. I'd expect subpoenas flying within a week." I could almost hear the sound of the Karen sisters' smug little empire cracking down the middle. For so long, they'd strutted around the neighborhood like it was their personal fiefdoms, napping at delivery drivers, bullying retirees into signing their community petitions, whispering poison at block parties. And now, the hammer was finally coming down. That night, my street was buzzing not in the quiet, polite way, but in the way you can feel through your window screens. Neighbors were out walking dogs a little slower than usual, accidentally strolling past the Marsh house. Lights flicked on and off like people were waiting for something. Something came. A plainclothes investigator clipboard, badge. Camera spent a solid 45 minutes photographing every side of their property. When he left, Brenda stepped outside, wild-eyed, robe hanging loose, and shouted after him, "We're being harassed. This is harassment." No one answered. No one even slowed down to listen. 3 days later, I got word the HOA had officially voted to remove both women from any committee or decision-making role. The civil side of the lawsuit was moving forward with an itemized claim for damages, citing intentional reputational harm and fraudulent misrepresentation. On the criminal side, the county was pressing charges. And for the first time in years, their driveway was empty, flashy SUV. No loud 6 a.m. departures. No smug waves across the street. I didn't dance in celebration. I didn't need to. The neighborhood itself seemed lighter, like everyone could breathe again. Justice wasn't just served. It was plated, garnished, and served hot. The last I heard, they were lawyering up, muttering something about fighting this all the way. But deep down, I think they knew. The paper trail was too clean. The recordings too clear. This wasn't a game, Anna Maria, it was a reckoning. As I filed the last piece of paperwork for the DA's office, I caught myself smiling. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't shouting back, it's quietly setting the stage so that when the curtain falls, the truth is lit in full, blinding clarity. And if you enjoyed watching Karma catch up to the Karen sisters in spectacular lawsuit fashion, hit that subscribe button on my YouTube channel so you don't miss the next time justice comes knocking. It was 6:43 a.m. when I opened my garage door and nearly had a heart attack. There it was, a fire-orange Lamborghini Huracan, aggressively angled into my garage like it owned the damn place. I blinked, rubbed my eyes, and then said out loud, "What the hell is that doing in my garage?" Cue the sound of high heels clacking on pavement. "Oh, good. You're up," came a voice that sounded like a Pinterest board had come to life. Karen. Specifically, Karen Santiago, the walking HOA violation in lipstick, who moved in 2 doors down with her sister, also named Karen, as if one wasn't enough. They referred to themselves as the Santiago sisters, but everyone else just called them the Karen sisters. Rich, entitled, fake-smiling tornadoes of drama. "You parked a 6-figure supercar in my garage without asking?" I shouted. "Are you out of your mind?" She waved me off like I was a bothersome dog. "It's just temporary. My garage is being fumigated for rodents. You wouldn't want it to get scratched out there, would you?" "It's not your garage," I snapped. "You literally broke in." Karen had the gall to laugh. "It's not a break-in if the code was on your delivery box. Maybe don't leave your garage keypad so accessible next time, sweetie." I could feel the blood in my neck boiling. I didn't even know what to say. I mean, who does this? "And you didn't think to ask?" "I left you a note," she said with a smirk. "Check your front door." I did. It was written on the back of a Trader Joe's receipt. "Hope you don't mind park the Lambo in your garage. I'll swing by to move it after brunch." Face blowing a kiss. Karen, the hotter one. By the time I turned back, both Karen sisters were already walking off in yoga pants and oversized sunglasses, sipping iced oat milk lattes like nothing happened. What kind of alternate reality had I stepped into? At that point, I could have screamed, or slashed her tires, or both. But instead, I picked up my phone and called the police. "Hi. Yeah. I'd like to report an unauthorized vehicle on my property. Yes. It's a Lamborghini. Yes, I have no idea who it belongs to. No, I did not give permission." They came within 20 minutes. By the time the Karens returned from brunch, hair bouncing and mouths flapping, they walked into an absolute scene. My driveway blocked by a tow truck, 2 officers circling the Lambo, and me standing there holding a cup of black coffee like it was popcorn. Karen 1 shrieked, "Oh my God. What are you doing? That's my sister's car." Karen 2, aka the hotter one, allegedly, nearly spilled her $12 drink. "This is harassment. That's trespassing. You are gonna get sued." I just stared blankly. "I told the police the truth. Your car was on my property, without permission, and that's trespassing." "Oh, please. You gave us the code." "No, you stole it off a sticker, and I've got the ring footage to prove it." That shut them up for a split second. Then the real fun began. As the officers went through the usual towing procedures, one of them paused near the rear left compartment of the Lambo. His brow furrowed. He tapped his partner, whispered something. Next thing I knew, the rear was popped open. I swear I'm not making this up. Inside was a duffel bag. Bright red. Unzipped just slightly. And sticking out of it, vacuum-sealed bricks. About 10 of them. Not exactly filled with marshmallows. The officer turned, calm but firm. "Ma'am, is this your vehicle?" Karen's sister 2 froze. "It's leased." He raised an eyebrow. "Do you know what's inside this storage compartment?" She blinked. 2 don't even use that side. Her sister hissed, "Shut up, Rebecca." Too late. 10 minutes later, the Lambo was loaded onto the flatbed with crime tape wrapped around it like an early Christmas present. Karen 2 was placed in handcuffs. Karen 1 screamed at me like a banshee. "You set us up. This is a sting. You faked this." I sipped my coffee. "That would have required effort. You did this all by yourself." Then she started crying, sobbing, collapsed on my driveway like she was auditioning for daytime TV. I should have felt bad. I didn't. 3 hours later, the Karens were gone, 1 in cuffs. 1 escorted off for questioning. The Lamborghini was sitting in the police impound lot, and my phone was blowing up. Apparently, the Santiago sisters weren't just neighbors with bad manners. They were under active investigation for wire fraud and identity theft, a massive scheme involving phony business accounts, forged loan applications, and God knows what else. Guess whose names were on several fraudulent property records? Yep, mine was one of them. Apparently, they had tried to claim my house as part of a portfolio acquisition on paper. I only found out when the fraud unit started asking me for notarized documents. It was all part of a giant lawsuit against a web of shell LLCs. They used luxury assets like a Lamborghini, funnel money, and fake legitimacy. Looks like this whole Park the Lambo stunt wasn't just rude, said Detective Ramos the next day. It might have been strategic. Hide the car before the warrant hits. Lucky for you, they chose the wrong garage. I nearly choked on my sandwich. You're telling me this was part of a cover-up? He nodded. Or panic. Either way, you made the right call. For once, I was glad my gut didn't default to be polite. Because politeness wasn't going to protect me from a forged lawsuit that claimed I was in on their game. Karen's sister one ended up hiring one of those smarmy Instagram lawyers who talks about vibes and truth-seeking. She posted a 6-slide Instagram story accusing me of collusion with law enforcement, emotional harassment, and even garage entrapment, whatever that meant. It got taken down the next day. Probably because her account got flagged for misinformation. Or maybe because she was served with a real lawsuit by the state. She tried to retaliate, of course. Claimed I gave verbal permission for them to use my garage. Tried to sue me for property damage to the Lamborghini, from the tow, no less. And even filed a civil complaint for betrayal of trust. What? The judge dismissed it within minutes. I was there in court, sitting behind my attorney, trying not to burst out laughing. I brought the footage from my Ring camera, the copy of her ridiculous note, screenshots of her Instagram stories. Your Honor, my lawyer said, if we're talking about betrayal, I suggest we start with the plaintiff forging real estate records and using stolen garage codes to store criminal evidence. Even the judge smirked. Karen's sister one stormed out of the courtroom that day, muttering something about Hollywood producers and wrongful arrest documentaries. Good luck with that. But the kicker? 2 weeks after that hearing, a federal agent knocked on my door. He wasn't in uniform, just a plain gray suit, dark sunglasses, and a badge flashed discreetly from a leather wallet. Mr. Palmer? Yeah, I said cautiously. I'm with the DOJ. You're not in trouble, Re, just confirming your cooperation as a witness in an ongoing fraud and drug trafficking case. It's tied to multiple interstate charges and at least 6 forged property lawsuits, including one targeting your address. I stood there stunned. Wait, you're saying they've done this to other people too? He nodded grimly. A whole string of victims. You're just the only one who turned the lights on before the rats could scatter. Turns out the Karen sisters had been involved in a web of fraud. Leasing luxury cars under fake businesses, forging ownership claims on random homes, laundering money through shell companies, and now surprise drug transport using those same flashy vehicles. The Lamborghini in my garage had been used on multiple cross-state trips, each one matched with spikes in narcotic movement. Suddenly, their oversized sunglasses and constant phone calls made a lot more sense. Will I need to testify? I asked. Possibly, the agent said. But rest assured, your lawsuit protection is solid. In fact, the DA is considering naming you in the official filing as the complaint witness. I exhaled hard, half relief, half disbelief. From being violated by a garage-invading Karen to being a protected witness in a federal takedown. Talk about whiplash. Weeks later, their case made national news. One sister accepted a plea deal. The other tried to go viral on TikTok claiming she was set up by big government. But it didn't get far. Commenters were ruthless. The fraud, the fake lawsuits, the drugs. She got dragged. I finally reclaimed my peace, reprogrammed my garage, repainted the driveway just for closure. People still stop by sometimes, asking, hey, weren't you the guy with the Lamborghini drug bust? I just smile now. Nope. I'm the guy who didn't let a Karen get away with fraud. Oh, and if you're into stories of real-life justice, neighborhood drama, and entitled people getting served with their own lawsuit-flavored karma, subscribe to my YouTube channel. You're not going to want to miss what happens next. You ever hear something so ridiculous? You just stand there blinking like you've been smacked with a wet mop? That was me standing on my driveway, staring at my missing trash bin, and realizing it wasn't stolen for the trash. No, the Karen sisters, yes, 2 of them, living right across the cul-de-sac, had swiped it for my barcode. I didn't even know this was a thing until the city sent me an overdue utility notice for an address that wasn't mine. I thought it was some clerical hiccup, maybe a typo, maybe a glitch. But when I called City Waste Management, the customer service rep's tone shifted mid-sentence. "Sir, are you aware your bin's barcode has been scanned for pickup at another residence for the past 3 months?" I remember gripping the phone so tight my knuckles ached. "I'm sorry, what? How does that even—" "It's not common, but it happens," she whispered, like she was sharing a dark family secret. "Someone peels off or copies your barcode, slaps it on their bin, and Voilacity thinks it's yours. You get billed." Oh, my pulse went spiky. I didn't even have to play Detective Me. Driveway camera told the whole story. 2 figures in matching floral robes, Karen 1 and Karen 2, slinking across the street at 1:12 a.m. Flashlight in hand, whisper laughing like middle schoolers on a dare. The sound of duct tape ripping. The metallic thunk of my bin being rolled away. And the audacity, they dragged their own bin into view and started peeling labels like it was a craft project. At first, I thought, do I just confront them? But I dealt with the Karen sisters before. Loud complaints to the HOA about my too bright porch light, passive-aggressive notes about unsightly garden hoses. A confrontation would just give them the satisfaction of turning it into my problem. No, this time I'd let the city and maybe the lotto the talking. So I played it cool. I didn't even mention it when we crossed paths at the mailbox. Karen 1, tall, wiry, with the kind of permanently pursed lips that make you wonder if she's tasted something sour her whole life, just gave me her usual tight smile. Karen 2, shorter, perpetually squinting like the sun, personally offended her, pretended to look at her phone. Oh, the performance. Instead, I emailed the waste management supervisor. I sent the video clips. I attached screenshots of the fraudulent utility bill with my account number tied to their address. I even printed out a city ordinance about utility tampering and fraud, highlighted in neon yellow. And then I waited. 2 weeks later, the city scheduled what they called a routine compliance audit for our neighborhood. Yeah, sure, routine, my foot. They rolled in with 2 utility trucks, 3 inspectors in safety vests, and a clipboard so thick it looked like a lawsuit waiting to happen. I happened to be trimming my hedges that morning. Okay, fine. I was just standing there with clippers for cover. When the inspectors reached the Karen's driveway, I saw it happen. One of them bent down, scanned the barcode on their bin, and froze. You could hear the beep echo like a death sentence. The inspector straightened, tapped his clipboard, and called someone over. A second inspector scanned again. Same beep, same frozen face. Karen 1 stepped out in her robe, hair in curlers, waving a coffee mug like it was a peace flag. "Is there a problem?" she asked, her voice sugar-sweet. The inspector didn't even look up. "Ma'am, this bin is registered to another residence." Karen 2 appeared behind her, eyes darting, lips twitching. "That's impossible. VE had that bin for years." The inspector flipped the bin. My original barcotomy barcaduas still half stuck under their slapdash tape job. And right there, in permanent marker, was my house number, scratched but still legible. "Oh," the inspector said flatly. "This isn't going to go well for you." Karen 1's smile cracked. "We must have accidentally." "No," the inspector cut in. "Accidentally would mean you contacted the city to correct it. This is barcode forgery. That's utility fraud under city code." I swear, the color drained from their faces so fast it was like someone hit a black and white filter. The inspectors photographed everything, both bins, the tape, the curlers, okay, maybe not the curlers, and then handed over a crisp white envelope. That envelope was the preliminary fine notice. $12,000 for tampering, $8,000 for fraud, plus $4,000 in administrative recovery fees. 24 grand. $24,000 for trying to dodge their own trash bill. I thought that was the end of it. I really did. But a week later, I got a knock at my door. And there, standing on my porch with the fakest smile this side of a used car commercial, was Karen 1 holding a plate of slightly burnt cookies. "We thought we might smooth things over," she said. I just looked at her. You forged my barcode? Billed me for your trash? And now you want me Tohei teat this? She flinched. We didn't think it would get this serious. That's the thing about fraud, I said, voice low. It's always serious. She left without another word, the cookies still in her hands. I could almost hear the sound of her teeth grinding from across the yard. But here's the twist: the city audit? It uncovered more than just the barcode scam. Turns out, the Karens had been underreporting their water usage for over a year, manipulating meter readings to keep their bills low. The same inspectors who caught them with my bin tied that directly to an old HOA complaint they'd filed against a neighbor over wasting water. Oh, the irony, delicious, steaming hot irony. They're now facing a pending lawsuit from the city's legal department. And me? I'm just sitting here, sipping coffee on my porch, listening to the sound of their angry phone calls drifting through their open windows. And I have to say, justice doesn't just sound sweet. It sounds like the quiet thud of a $24,000 fine landing in someone else's mailbox. A month later, I got an official letter from the city attorney's office. It wasn't for might, was a courtesy notice. The Karen sisters were being formally sued for municipal utility fraud, falsifying billing records, and my favorite, attempting to obstruct an official audit. I'll admit, I laughed out loud when I read it. It wasn't a little heh laugh either, it was the full belly kind. The kind that makes your ribs hurt. Because tucked inside that notice was a schedule for the preliminary hearing. And guess who was listed as a key witness? Yours truly. The court date rolled around on a humid Thursday morning. The sisters arrived in matching beige blazers, like they'd been told, dress respectable, and thought they were auditioning for a local news interview. Their lawyer, clearly exasperated, kept whispering to them, but they wouldn't stop making faces at me from across the aisle. The city's case was airtight. Video evidence of them stealing the bin? Check. Timestamp scans proving the barcode was used at their address? Check. Photographs of the half-ripped sticker with my house number still visible? Oh, double check. And then the inspector got up, the same one who'd been at their driveway, and read the city ordinance word for word. The judge's expression never changed, but I could tell by the slow, deliberate notes being taken that the Karens were cooked. When the verdict came, it was brutal. The fine stayed at $24,000, payable within 60 days. They were ordered to reimburse me for the fraudulent charges plus a $500 inconvenience stipend. Never knew that was a thing, but I'll take it. And the cherry on top, they were banned from holding any HOA board position for the next 5 years. I almost stood up and clapped. Walking out of the courthouse, Karen 1 hissed under her breath, "You didn't have to go this far." I stopped, turned, and looked her dead in the eye. "You forged my utility account and tried to make me pay your bills. This far? Lady, this was the short route." That night, I rolled my reclaimed bin back to the curb. The Barcotomy original Barcaduas shining under a fresh layer of clear sealant I'd applied myself. Across the street, the Karen's driveway was conspicuously empty. No bin, no smug morning coffee, no fake little waves. Just silence. Sometimes karma doesn't come as a lightning strike. Sometimes it's the slow, steady grind of the system they thought they could cheat until it turns around and buries them under its full weight. And in this case, that weight was a lawsuit with their names printed in bold at the top. If you enjoyed watching karma slam shut like a courthouse door, subscribe to my YouTube channel for more real-life HOA and lawsuit justice stories you won't believe.